Hi guys, Rushy here and welcome to Ambition, a minuet in power, a minute in power. A minuet is like what I've learned, a ballroom dance, I think that was popular in the 18th century, which is when this game is set. It's set in 18th century Paris, and I believe it's a dating game. We get to like chat and date people. Pretty sure. This is the demo version. This game did release in 2021, so it has been out for quite some time. I want to try it before I buy it. It retails on Steam for 31 AUD. And yeah, that's really much all the information I have for you. So let's give it a go. New game. Prologue, Yvette's story. There's a plane going overhead. All right, the carriage rumbles and bounces along the cobbles as you approach Paris. It's taken over a week to get here, even carrying just yourself and your luggage. These dots mean that there's more story ahead. Yes, your fiancé, Armand, arranged for the carriage to take you from your small village to a tavern he enjoys called the Orphan's Feast. Oh. There, he'll meet up with you. You'll likely take dinner together, and then he'll show you to your new home in Paris. For now, though, you've already finished all of your books, and Armand's letter is your only entertainment, other than staring out the window. Might as well take in the sights. Reading the letter one more time wouldn't hurt. Or coachman, let's go, I don't have all day. Might as well look. You crane your neck out the window to peer at Paris. It's even more than you imagined. The streets are a riot of colour and energy as people go about their days. Elegant persons of fashion strut like brilliant peacocks. Students stumble under the weight of their books. Beggars alternate between pleading for alms and shouting invectives at passers-by. Everything feels significant, like the world's next act hinges on all of their choices. Though part of you is worried by your unfamiliar surroundings, you mostly feel excited. This place is to be the stage for your new life. Let's read his letter. You must have read the brief letter over 100 times, but you always found new details to puzzle over. Armand's letters were often extremely long, a habit you'd frequently tease him for in your own missives. Chère Yvette. Oh, mon chéri. Yvette. Chéri? Is that Sherry? Yeah, chéri Yvette. I believe that's dear. I could be wrong. I know it may be sudden, but I want to invite you to live with me in Paris. Back in your provincial hometown, you were engaged to Armand before you moved north to Paris to participate in the Estates General. He dreamed of changing the country, and this was the political event of the century. You mailed love letters soaked in perfume. He replied with volumes about how much he misses you. The romance of it all helped make up for the inconvenience. Not that your parents cared much about the romance. At first, you'd been afraid to tell them their youngest daughter wanted to move far away. Instead, they nearly threw you onto the carriage to follow Armand to Paris. While you understood the significant benefits your common family would receive from your marriage into a noble one, you couldn't help but be a little annoyed at their eagerness to see you off. I can't wait for you to see it. It's unlike anything back home, a truly vital place, where anyone can be anything. Je t'embrasse. Je t'embrasse. I don't know French very well. Je t'embrasse. Armand. I'd have to practice it so much just to understand what the hell that means. Yours truly or something? That was something you were looking forward to, a chance to be something more. After all, Baroness Yvette de Marbeau has a certain ring to it. Before you know it, the carriage starts slowing down. You must be here. Armand arranged to meet you at a tavern named the Orphan's Feast. As tired and rumpled as you are, you're glad that he planned to meet you in a place with ample food and wine. When you arrive, the coachman helps you out of the carriage, and you find yourself outside a glowing, friendly-looking tavern. Ooh, ambiance. The sign shows a grubby-looking child holding a plate piled high with fresh bread and roasted meats. Ooh! Inside, a woman polishing a lantern looks up at you as you enter, and her face breaks into a bright smile. Bonjour, madame, and welcome to the Orphan's Feast. Her eyes linger expectantly on the door for a moment before settling on you. You're suddenly reminded of how rare it is for women to travel by themselves. Ah, yes. How may I be of service, she asks. I'm looking for my fiancé, Baron Armand de Marbeau. Oh, tutorial. This is my first time here. Is there anything I should know? Huh. Don't worry, while the rest of the city can be rather cutthroat, the Orphan's Feast is a relaxed place for getting your feet under you. The woman puts down the lantern she was polishing. She favors you with a devious smile. A fine guest worth talking to, and try to say the right things to the right people. You'll never have time to talk to everyone. So try to use your time wisely. I have €100. I'm sure that if you ask around, you'll be able to find your fiancé in no time. Or that's euro, right? When she puts it that way, it suddenly sounds easy. While you only have one outfit to your name at the moment, the Orphan's Feast doesn't feel like a particularly judgmental place in terms of fashion. Your credibility won't be shifted by what you're wearing here. As long as you explore the tavern and talk to people, you should be able to find Armand soon enough. Oh! This is the party map. Select a room to talk with the people in there. I have 2 turns. I guess we'll go in here. While you search for Armand, a handsome young man approaches you. Perhaps he'll be able to help. I could lose credibility or peril. Or what's this one? A fellow traveler sits at a nearby table, having recently become acquainted with Paris himself. Perhaps he'll be able to point you in the right direction, or I could lose money. You spent a long time on the discomfort of the carriage. Now might be a good time to get something to drink. I think I want to talk to the traveler. You approach a man standing by himself. His wig is slightly disheveled and he has fresh mud on his boots. Ah, bonjour, madame. You must have just arrived in Paris as well, he says affably. Where did you journey from? An idyllic farming town to the south. I'm a little sorry I left it behind. Do not worry, madame. I'm sure you'll be able to return there soon enough, he replies with a warm laugh. I myself came a few months ago from similar idyllic surroundings in Brittany, which is a western part of France, I believe. It's a region in France. But of course, the harvest has not been so good this year, which is what brings me to Paris. I'm searching for a way to revitalize our estate. Back home, I tried new farming techniques, imported tools, and I even built a shrine to Saint Isidore himself. Yet it was to no avail. So I am here in search of a solution. Et vous, madame? And you? I think. What has brought you to Paris so far from home? I'm here because my fiancé Armand is here.
Oh-ho.
You've traveled all the way here for your fiancé? Such love and devotion reminds me of when I was your age. His eyes have a far-off look for a moment. Never let yourself lose sight of such things. If that is why you are here, you might want to seek out those associated with the church. Love and tradition are very much on their minds. Oh, you've gained a little favor with the members of the church. Don't worry, you'll meet them later. Okay. So this Armand of yours, what brought him to Paris? I should say his business isn't mine to discuss, or, well, he's the Baron de Marbo, and he's here for the Estates General. Baron de Marbo? He pauses to think, scratching his chin. Why does that name sound so familiar? His eyes go wide for a moment before settling into an expression of discomfort. Gathering up his whatever. Sorry, madame, I simply haven't been here long enough to know enough about him. Monsieur, please, are you sure you can't remember anything? He sighs and looks from side to side, obviously torn on what to do. Getting close to you, he whispers, if you must know, madame, your fiancé has made a powerful enemy, and if you don't know how he did that, then you might want to reconsider him entirely. Without another word, he drains his wine glass and leaves. While you may have learned something, you feel like you still have more questions than answers. You should be able to clear all of this up when you find Armand. My fiancé is a piece of shit. Oh, okay. So I guess I'm this one then. Now that you're more acclimated to the guests and travelers of the Orphan's Feast, you should be able to find someone that can lead you to Armand. After hours of questioning and searching, it's late in the evening, and you've still yet to find Armand. You're not even sure why, but you feel exhausted. Who knew talking to people was such hard work? Now that you're warmed up, I knew that. I know it's hard work. Now that you're warmed up, this may be your chance to finally find out where Armand is. You approach a woman who you had spotted glancing your way earlier. Pardon me, have you seen the Baron de Marbo? At the mention of Armand's full title, she laughs nervously. She makes small talk for a brief moment before excusing herself and disappearing into the crowd. The room appears to be emptying out. A gentleman you remember seeing earlier walks by. He might prove a little more useful. Monsieur, a moment of your time? He looks at you, glances over to the woman who you spoke with earlier, then quickens his pace as he walks by. The room is emptying out even faster now. You manage to get the attention of another woman. She doesn't even slow down before she leaves. After a third person gives you the cold shoulder, you start to wonder what happened. Are you really that out of place? Is it something about Armand? What is going on here? Still, you check around the Orphan's Feast one last time. There's no sign of Armand, not even an open tab with the tavern keep. After waiting around for a few hours, you leave the Orphan's Feast, dragging a small mountain of luggage behind you. After all, the coach was only hired to take you to the tavern. Amar may not have been waiting for you like he said he would, but you memorized his address from all of the times you wrote it on your letters to him. It's the middle of the night, but the street is still teeming with life. The light from the windows and the street lamps sparkle like the stars. You're tired and your feet hurt, but still, you can't help but smile. This is it. This is Paris. No matter what happens, you're still here. For a brief moment, you're not a country girl, dragging luggage through the streets. You're the person you feel that you are when you close your eyes alone. You're overseeing a grand salon surrounded by poets, musicians, scientists, philosophers, and artists. You are elegant, sophisticated, and respected. You're getting close to the address. Armand never described his living conditions much, but he's the son of a baron, and his family was always well-to-do, especially compared to yours. You've spent a lot of time in that carriage wondering about the home you'd spend your new life in. Still, you didn't expect this. Calling the house rustic would imply that you were out in the country, not in the center of a city. The neighborhood is nice enough, but you're worried that if you breathe too hard on the building, it'll fall over. A well-kept woman in the attire of a maid opens the door and approaches you. Ah, bonsoir. I assume you must be Madame Yvette. My name is Camille. Monsieur Armand told me to expect you. Merci, Camille. Please take me to Armand. I was hoping that he was with you, Camille replies hesitantly. I haven't seen him in days. He has a lot of explaining to do. At this, Camille takes a deep, nervous breath. I'm afraid to tell you that you'll have to wait, Madame. It's been days since I've seen Monsieur Armand. I was hoping that he was with you. While you're still processing this latest disappointment, Camille seems to notice your mountain of luggage for the first time. Mon Dieu, Madame, did you carry all of this yourself? You must be exhausted. She's not wrong. You're not certain how you're still upright and awake right now. I've already made up your bed, Madame. Please go inside and let me take care of this. You take your diary and leave the heavy lifting to Camille. The inside of the house isn't much better than the outside. Camille keeps the place tidy, but she can only do so much. Still, you don't care about that right now. You're just happy to have a roof over your head. You flop down on a nearby couch, open your diary and start to write. You're tired, disappointed, and perhaps abandoned. But writing things down always helps you make sense of a situation. Is this my house? Oh, after party report. I didn't lose any novelty, but I got a Ludovico favor. Cool. The 21st of March, 1789. Early the next morning, Camille approaches you, occasionally wringing her apron with her hands. She's obviously nervous. Madame, there's something you should know. Taking a deep breath, she continues. You're expected to attend a party the day after tomorrow, held by one Baron Maximin de Termes. Baron Maximin de Termes. I mean, Armand replied to the invitation, but you were to be his date. Do you know anything about this Baron Maximin? I'm sorry, Madame, but I don't know much. It would have been improper for me to pry into Monsieur Armand's affairs. Camille replies with a surprising earnestness. All I know is that this Baron de Termes is a very outspoken political type, always going on about constitutions and natural law. Monsieur Armand attended a lot of his salons, but never really looked happy when he came back from them. I hope that helps, Madame. Well, at least I have a party to go to. Camille looks visibly relieved. Parfait. If you need anything washed or prepared, just ask. Perfect. That reminds me, Camille exclaims. If you're going to a party, you should probably make sure you're dressed appropriately. Fashion moves so quickly here that people retire outfits before they even wear out. At this proclamation, you can't help but notice that Camille's uniform has been repaired many, many times. Camille continues. Monsieur Armand was always going through clothes so quickly. He said that every outfit had a certain amount of novelty. Every time you wore them to a party, the novelty would go down Every time you wore them to a party, the novelty would go down a bit. In fact, even a little thing like wearing the same thing twice in a row could run the novelty out faster. Can you imagine? Fortunately, he knew the most delightful clothier on Rue de Faubourg Saint-Honoré. She runs a shop called Le Petit Mogul. Le Petit Mogul? Mogul? Le Petit Mogul. I wish I knew French properly. Rue du Faubourg Saint-Honoré. Yeah, something like that. I'll draw you some directions. Immediately she starts sketching some directions, mostly just symbol renderings of local landmarks. Le Petit Mogul is now available to visit in the Paris map. If you head out today, you should be well prepared for the party tomorrow night. Okay. You've gained a level of exhaustion by attending a party. Any levels of exhaustion that you have at the start of a party or rendezvous will give you a penalty to your credibility. Worry not, for you'll discover ways to reduce your exhaustion soon. Okay. So I have to explore Paris. Let's go. Whoa, there's a full map. Okay, I'm going to the dress store. It's a long walk to Rue de Faubourg Saint-Honoré, but the trek to the narrow street is worth it. Every block hums with a vibrant energy bursting with life. Porters and social climbers wind their way through the streets, festooned with brightly colored parcels. Paris may be a city swimming in fashion and finery, but this is the source. This street is home to all the major fashion houses in the country, and to Rose Burton, personal dressmaker to the Queen herself. Ooh. And now you're here, back home. They sigh and dream of places like this, then quietly get back to their little lives. Not you, your circumstances may be less than ideal, but you're still here. Le Petit Mogul, you mumble to yourself idly, trying to make sure you remember the name of the shop. Eventually you find a small boutique tucked between some far grander buildings. You open the door and walk into the tiny shop, which seems even smaller due to how absolutely full it is. This isn't just a boutique, it's a workshop for whoever works here. Rolls of gorgeous fabric cover every available surface, a cloying smoke hangs in the air, the scent is pleasant but wholly unfamiliar. As soon as the door swings shut behind you, you hear a sudden rustling of fabric further in the store. A customer! Hamdullah, a surprisingly young voice calls out. Hamdullah? Oh! Bonjour, madame, and welcome to Le Petit Mogul. A woman, presumably the owner, calls out to you. How may I help you? All of this is so new. What can you tell me about outfits and fashion? At those words, she looks giddy to the point of bursting, but tries to play it off as a knowing smile. This deception is only half successful. Oh, I think I can help with that. Her name's Fatima. Select one of my lovely outfits to see if it's to your liking. Remember, my stock changes every day, so be sure to visit often. Robe de coeur. I didn't even see what I look like in the first one. Amazing. So -4 to the crown though, and -14 to the church. Is it because my titties are out? Oh, robe à la française. These are like the same, but they have different stats. This is +4 to the revolution, +7 to the bourgeoisie, +12 to the military. What time is this? 1789. So we're like in the Paris. We're in the French Revolution, right? Yeah. Screw the crown. We don't like the crown. I don't know if I like the church though. I kind of want this one. This one. So we can either be good with the bourgeoisie, which is like the merchants, I believe, or middle class, or we could be good with the church. I want the bourgeoisie. Screw it. You've just spent some of your money. Les verts are used to buy outfits, pay servants, and more. Try to make sure you always have some on hand. Okay? Awesome. I like it. I like it. I would have gone for the blue one, but 22nd. Don't talk about 2020, Jesus. 22nd of March. Miles. You awaken to the vision of sunlight filtering through the shutters, scattering sunbeams across this dusty bedroom. It takes a few minutes before you groggily remember the events that brought you here. You also remember that tonight you have a party to attend. Camille enters your bedroom, already full of cheer. Madame, when would you like to start getting ready? If this is as important as the invitation makes it seem, I should start preparing now. That's good to hear. These preparations also always seem to take all day. On days when you have a party, you won't really have time to spend exploring Paris. Once you go to your wardrobe, we can get started. I've never really done anything like this. Is there anything I should know? Don't worry, madame. A glamorous woman like yourself is sure to catch on quickly. Sure. Click here to go to the wardrobe. Ah. So I could wear my provincial outfit. I'm so pretty. +19 military. So, Maximin de Termes private salon is a humble salon concerning the ills plaguing our great nation. We hope you shall remember this event for years to come. Exhausted. Okay. This party is being held by the Revolution. They like robes à la française. Sometimes they like robes de coeur and humble carac. Okay, yeah, well, so they should like what I'm wearing because it's a à la française robe. We've worn the right thing. When your carriage drops you off at a party, you find yourself waiting in line for quite some time, looking at the other guests. You wonder if you're underdressed or overdressed. It's honestly hard to tell. You look over yourself one last time and confirm that you're wearing your robe à la française to a party being held by the revolution. The guests have no strong feelings on your outfit, and your credibility has not changed much. You've just gained some credibility. The more credibility you have, the easier it is for you to deceive someone. With preparations like this, the results of tonight could be a toss-up. While you're determining your standing in the world of fashion, you manage to overhear an interesting rumor while in line. You make a mental note of it just in case. You have gained a piece of cheap revolution gossip. This will be useful later. Unfortunately, you can feel exhaustion set in as soon as you think of the full itinerary ahead of you. Tonight is going to be a long night. Being exhausted has given you a credibility penalty. Immediately upon entering the vestibule, you're greeted by a doorman holding a small ledger. While he isn't physically barring your entry, his manner certainly is. Name, madame? He asks expectantly. Baron Armand de Marbo or Yvette Decaux? Yvette Decaux. The doorman looks perplexed at you for a moment, flipping through his ledger. I do not see your name here, madame. I am Baron Armand de Marbo's date. He could not attend. Ah, that is most unfortunate, the doorman replies, surprisingly disappointed. Baron de Termes was so looking forward to seeing him tonight. Please convey our deepest regrets at his absence. Is there anything I can get you? Please convey my deepest gratitude to our host and that I'm eager to meet him. Ah, yes, absolutely, madame. The Baron shall hear of it quite soon. You hear some murmurs from other guests in the vestibule. Your gratitude and enthusiasm seem to have made an impression on them, though the doorman seems rather unfazed. You have gained a little credibility. Sweet. Before you can ask any other questions, he bows deeply to you. Pardon-moi, madame. Baron de Termes instructed me specifically to inform him as soon as you had arrived. We've heard so much about you. Enjoy the party, he says with a smile before leaving. The doorman was specifically there for me. Alright. Who's this? A pair of gentlemen are huddled together and speaking in low voices about some scandalous event that took place in the countryside. This woman standing by herself seems quite fascinated by the host of the party, Baron Maximum de Termes. Two guests are clearly looking for someone else at this event. Apparently a new revolutionary figure has arisen in Paris. One that's winning quite a bit of favor among the more radical elements. In fact, you might even be able to meet such a person. I kind of want to go cheap church gossip. I want to go here. Let's go talk to the churchy gossips. Oh, it's you! You happen upon a pair of men whispering in a corner together. They're trying to look as happy and engaged as the other guests, but their movements are too stiff. They seem concerned. The younger one sighs and gestures to the crowd with his wine glass. Everyone's talking about reforming the estates as if it's going to be as simple as making a request. Does nobody remember what happened in Grenoble? They sent soldiers into that town just for trying to hold a meeting. The older man replies wearily. Agreed, and the bloodshed was monstrous. Did you hear about their bishop? That he killed themselves after the riot. That he killed himself after the riots? Yes, I hate that I accidentally do that. If you could learn more, this might be some truly valuable gossip. Mon Dieu, I grew up in Grenoble, but never found out the truth. What happened? Oh. They turn, noticing you for the first time. I can understand why, madame. It was grisly enough that the church didn't make any official announcements. The archbishop's funeral's closed casket because... The older guest stops his friend, mid-sentence. I'm not sure if we should continue. I would not want to offend the madame's sensibilities with such dreadful details. Perhaps you are right. It may be too much for me to know. Don't worry, such details are necessary to understanding the bigger picture, the older man says in a patronizing tone. I suppose he's right, the younger man admits. What's most important is that Archbishop's death was a suicide, and this made the church extremely uncomfortable. This is why they were so quiet about his passing. During your conversation, you managed to get a few more details about the time of death, who discovered the body, and more. This is exactly what you were hoping for. A rumor, by itself, isn't of any consequence. Specific details add an air of truthfulness, which is necessary for quality gossip. This should be valuable to someone. You have acquired some cheap church gossip. You continue your hushed conversation with the two men and manage to tease out a few more specifics. Eventually, the three of you go your separate way. Oh my god. A man dressed in the sober colors of a revolutionary is marching towards you. I should have talked to the lady about him. Out of the corner of your eye, you'll notice a tall, thin man dressed in somber, serious colors. The way people are clustered around him, you get the feeling that he's quite important. He glances up from his current conversation, politely excuses himself, and approaches you. Ah, you must be Madame Decaux. I'm not sure if Armand spoke of me, but I am Baron Maximin de Termes. Right as he focuses his attention on you, you can feel everyone in the room watching you out of the corners of their eyes. His opinion must carry a great deal of weight. But please, let us dispense with titles. You may call me Maximum. The crowd chuckles, and you can't help but be surprised by this noble's informality. This would be downright scandalous in any other circle. The conversations in the various corners of the room die down as people strain to hear your exchange with Maximum. It's great to meet the woman Amass spoke so much of. He said more about you than he did the state of the nation, and you know how much he loves that. Maximum smiles and offers a knowing wink. Now that I've seen you, I can see why he had such muddled priorities. You have gained a little credibility. I'm at 10. In fact, you may both find these useful. He grabs a jumbled stack of political pamphlets off his desk and hands them to you. Discourse moves so rapidly after all, and I would hate for the two of you to have any trouble keeping up. A few voices in the crowd murmur in approval. Maximum pauses, his eyes sweeping the room for a moment. But please, I must trouble you with a question of my own. I've been told that Armand is unable to join us tonight. What has delayed him? I'm sorry, but Armand has taken ill. Still, he said that I just had to attend your party. Oh, really? I must say that I'm surprised that Armand thinks so highly of true revolutionary minds. Murmurs of appreciation and agreement ripple through the crowd, but are quickly hushed by other guests who are also pretending that they're not listening in. Maximum chuckles. Of course, this gathering is more of a salon than a party, but I can see why you would be confused. He reaches out and pats your hand. Please don't be embarrassed. I'm sure Armand will be able to explain the differences later, when he's feeling better. Unless, of course, he's not actually sick. It's been days since anyone's heard from Baron de Marbeau. Originally, I'd taken it as a blessing that we no longer had to deal with his ignorant and traitorous declarations. However, now I find myself face to face with his fiancée, who isn't just ignorant but a liar. You have lost some credibility, you have gained some peril. That's rude. The crowd is no longer making a secret of observing your conversation. They're gawking. Why invite Armand if you disliked him so? I invited your dullard fiancé in order to denounce him and his views. People like himself should not waste their time clouding discussions with their dangerous ignorance. They're better served by repeating the words of their more revolutionary peers. Maximum narrows his eyes until there's barely more than slits. In fact, you can practice this virtue now and make sure that he hears this should you manage to find him. His wild and unseemly ideas make him an enemy of the revolution, an enemy of the common people of France, and an enemy of mine. The only thing he can do to atone for his miserable views is to take you and return to the backwards obscurity from whence he came. Maximum's voice drops low to a growl barely above a whisper. Before you speak, I already know what you're thinking, that somehow you don't deserve this. You are wrong. Our associations reflect our character, and you have chosen to associate yourself with a dangerous boor who drags at the heels of true progress in France. Or in France. I can only assume that you are a craven opportunist who thought that marrying into a title would provide an easy path above her peers, that your life would be easy if you just found the right person to latch onto. Like a barnacle or a leech. You are a fool for believing that, and he is a fool for loving you. Titles don't elevate us above consequences. Now leave my house and never return. That was awful. Before you can reply, a valet grabs you roughly by the arm and drags you from the study. People like your loathsome host don't need to do their own dirty work. They have servants for it. It takes far longer than you'd like to get outside as the entryway is crowded with guests preparing to leave. You can feel their eyes weighing heavily on you. When you finally get to the door, you feel a brutish shove and you stumble out into the courtyard, barely keeping your balance in your heels. The area is equally crowded, with various persons entering their personal carriages. You can hear somebody snicker, but you have no idea who it was. The only thing left to do is go home. This has been a night I'll just leave. I don't want to cause trouble. Choosing to take the high ground, you straighten your posture and hold your head high, striding towards your carriage as if it was your intention to leave like this was all along. While you make a great effort to haughtily avoid eye contact with all of those watching you, you can tell that some of them are quite surprised by your decorum in this dire situation. Oh, you have gained some credibility. However, when you arrive at the place where your carriage is parked, you quickly find out that it isn't. It's gone. You check to make sure that you're in the right place, but to no avail. The carriage you hired is simply not there. He went home, a passing coachman says helpfully. While adjusting the harness on a particularly grumpy horse, Dorman came out about an hour ago and told him you wanted the coach to leave without you. Seemed real important, so he went home. Before you can even respond, he gets his carriage moving, leaving you alone with yet another indignity. Going back to Maximin is obviously unacceptable. It's too far to walk home, and most of the other guests have already left. However, there appear to be 3 other carriages waiting to leave, each of them quite different. Perhaps one of them can help? Always go right? No. Humble. Humble. The carriage to the left of you is of foreign design and features a gilded crest as its only ornamentation. This crest is emblazoned with a motto in Latin and appears to belong to a priest of some description. The curtains are drawn, but someone appears to have lit a lantern inside. Judging by the occupant's silhouette, it looks like he's reading. You consider the humble carriage for a moment. Is this who you'd like to ride with? Yes. A priest should be willing to help a poor innocent woman like myself. Settled in your decision, you set out, ready to entrust your fortune to a modest stranger. I hope so. You reach out and knock on the door of the carriage. The silhouetted figure jumps in surprise. An accented voice calls out to you. Who is it? It's me, the woman who just got castigated by the host and thrown out. Oh-ho. Behind the door, you hear a sputter of barely suppressed laughter. He opens the door. Oh, buonasera, castigated woman. I am Father Sidoti. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. Oh, you've gained a little favor with Ludovico. How may I help you? May I trouble you for a ride home? My coachman was tricked into leaving without me. For the first time today, you see someone look at you with genuine concern. How terrible. Please, come aboard. It's no trouble at all. He puts down his book and waves you inside. The inside of the carriage is very similar to the outside. It's simple but lovingly crafted. Father Sidoti sits across from you, his eyes darting between you and the small stack of books on the seat next to him. He signals the coachman by tapping the ceiling of the carriage and you head off towards Paris. He stares at you for a while and almost starts talking before thinking better of it. This process repeats a few more times before he finally speaks. May I ask what happened? Imagine Saint Sebastian, but with insults instead of arrows. It appears that Parisians have a very different way of entertaining their party guests. I'm looking for my missing fiancé, but it turns out this party was held by one of his enemies. With a slight smile, he exhales, looking less tense than before. I'm glad to see that you're taking this setback in good humor. Not everyone would be so unflustered by such a turn of events. Oh, yeah, I got some favor. You gained a little favor. You're not so sure if you actually feel unflustered, but it's good that you can project it. While I wasn't present for it, I heard about what our host put you through. I'm so sorry you had to endure such a dreadful humiliation. Are you all right? I'm not happy with what happened, but I'll be all right. Resilience is good, he replies, trailing off for a moment. Just make sure to give yourself time to rest. Even the most minor of injuries can wear on the soul, if left uncared for. Eventually, the conversation dies down. The adrenaline rush of the night's disasters and indignities giving way to simple exhaustion. Father Sidoti settles into his books and you occupy yourself with watching the scenery go by and trying not to fall asleep. The carriage stops and the coachman opens the door. As you step down into the street, Father Sidoti leans out of the carriage to look at your home. Ah, I see you have chosen to live humbly. It's good for the soul, he muses aloud. You've gained a little favor. Until we meet again, madame, he calls out cheerily. Before the carriage drives off into the night, you realize that Camille is already waiting for you at the door. Huh. Who was that? She asks. A most intriguing young priest, hopefully someone I'll see again. He was very nice. Your mind brimming with new possibilities, you step inside and head upstairs. Slowly you get undressed and open your journal to record exactly what transpired tonight. Yeah, I got a lot of peril. And my novelty's going down. But I did get some cheap revolution gossip and cheap church gossip. Crud. A lot of Ludovico favors. Chapter 1. Establishing oneself. You awaken the next morning in a bed that still feels unfamiliar. In the process of waking up, you start to recall the last night's humiliations and wish that they were merely the product of your fitful dreams. Unable to go back to sleep, you spend some time tossing and turning in bed before finally sitting up. Nothing is going to make the last night go away. The only option is deciding what to do next. You feel exhausted, not physically, but in your very soul, like your fate in Paris has already been decided, and that to remain here would be pointless. It would just be the humiliations of last night over and over again. However, stronger than the exhaustion is the simmering rage you feel at the outrageousness of your circumstances, at the injustice of your treatment, and at the thought of going back to your tiny village after finally making it here to Paris. No, you must not go back. You cannot go back, not while a single candle of your ambition still burns. Camille pops into your room, already dressed and ready for the day. Bonjour, madame, she beams. It looks like you had quite an active night. Is there anything I can get you? Some kind of refreshment, please. Certainly, madame. What can I get you? Camille asks with a smile. Tea. Please, I'll need to get my wits about me if I'm to regain people's trust. Camille returns so quickly with the tea that you're certain she made it ahead of time. It's piping hot, fragrant, and not too bitter. You drink the brew in silence, the gears of your mind slowly getting up to speed. The tiredness fades, your anger does not. You have gained a little credibility. Well, it's at least equal now. You take a few moments to finish your drink in silence and collect your thoughts. Something that keeps coming to mind is all the gossip you've heard during your time at the party. Most of it was idle prattle, but some of it felt scandalous and valuable. Without an inheritance or a job, you'll need a way to make some money. Maybe someone will be willing to buy this gossip. Is that a thing people do? Camille taps her chin thoughtfully. Well, when I was at Le Halles the other day, someone mentioned something about a newspaper with these amazing society pages. I think it was called La Trompette du Peuple. Du purple? Du pupil. La Trompette du Pupil. La Trompette du Pupil is now available to visit in the Paris map. They'd have to get their stories from somewhere. Why not you? In fact, I bet you'd be great at that, madame. Merci, Camille. I think I'll do just that. With that, your day begins. I'm gonna go sell some gossip. Woo! Gossip. Popular if unscrupulous newspaper. Spend the day here to sell gossip, manipulate public opinion, and update your knowledge. Hell yeah, I will. You walk through the city following Camille's directions. Eventually, you find yourself threading through narrower and narrower streets. The alleys packed with refuse and occasional vagrant napping in the shade feel almost oppressive in their closeness. Suddenly, the alley opens up to a wider street near a square. You can hear the splashing of a fountain nearby. You finally find the sign for Le Trompette du Pupil. The paint appears to be fresh, but the office seems awfully small. The door is locked, so you give it a knock. Nobody answers. Looking around, you find a hastily written note lodged in the doorframe. It reads, "Office temporarily closed. Engaging in emergency fundraising efforts. We apologize for the inconvenience. Management. P.S. Fear not this setback. The light of journalism shall never fade." It's at that moment you realize the splashing in the fountain is getting louder, accompanied by some of the most inventive profanity you've ever heard. Against your better judgment, you decide to investigate. "Aha!" a reedy voice shouts triumphantly. You come upon a man in grubby finery up to his knees in the fountain. His shoes have carefully been placed at the water's edge. He does a little jig as he drops a wet coin into his snuff box, which is clutched tightly in his other hand. Noticing your presence, the man in the fountain turns to you with a nod and a smile that attempts to be ingratiating. "Bonjour, madame. Are you Pierre, the esteemed editor of Le Trompe? Are you Pierre, the esteemed editor of Le Trompette du Pupil?" His smile broadens, and the man bows. In his manner suddenly as elegant as the finest courtiers of Versailles. "Why, in fact, I am, bonne dame. My name is Pierre Renaudot." Renaudot? Renaudot? I don't know. I'm sorry for my pronunciations, by the way, guys. I'm not French. I've studied a little bit, but not a lot. In case you couldn't tell. How may I be of service? If I wanted to sell some gossip, how would that work? A devious smile crosses his face. New to this, are you? Don't worry, it's much easier than you think. Is it? Alright, so I have cheap revolution gossip or cheap church gossip. Gossip's value is determined by its tier and its freshness, but it also has an effect. If you peddle influence, I'll take the gossip for free, but you can use that effect to change the standing of a faction. However, right now, you need money, so click on the sell gossip button. Okay. How about this one? I just want to sell it. A 1 in 20 chance. Okay, screw it. If they find out, they find out. It's the 24th. You wake up the next morning to a polite knock on your bedroom's doorframe. Camille enters carrying a small armload of letters. Madame? Camille starts, both confused and hesitant. "There's a lot of letters for you here." Take a letter. The letter, written in elaborate calligraphy and sealed in stamped wax, appears to be an invitation to a party. The other letters cradled in Camille's arms are of a similar type. "Why would anyone invite me to a party?" "Well, madame, you're a little famous right now," Camille replies. "Everyone's heard about your run-in with that dreadful party host a few days ago, how they preyed upon your honor and spirited away your carriage driver, leaving you trapped and alone. You don't think that's exactly how it happened, but decide against fretting over the details." Camille starts to talk faster and faster. "Then, when all was lost, you were saved by a beautiful stranger who escorted you home in the moonlit night. It's so romantic, no?" "Oh, the rumors are already running rampant. Why, just in the market the other day, I heard someone say that you've taken a liking to..." Camille stops, stares into space and blushes. "Actually, never mind that." "Never mind what?" "It's just rumors from the marketplace, madame. Nothing you should dignify. In any case, this is your chance to meet people in the city who don't hate you or Monsieur Armand." You have received many party invitations. You can now receive party invitations from all over Paris. In fact, I'm sure that anyone who really judges you fairly is going to love you. That's all well and good, but how does any of this work? Don't worry, madame. It's quite simple. But I need to know. Wow. Congratulations on successfully finishing the demo. Okay, so that's the demo. And yeah, we can buy the rest of the game if we would so like to. That's actually interesting. I kind of really like it. I'm not going to lie. I love historical pieces. I love Paris, I love France. This type of shit is my jam. I've always liked stuff like this. When I was a kid, one of my favorite books to read was Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, which I know is different. It's not French aristocracy, but I'm also obsessed with a lot of French things, mainly the architecture. I don't know why. I used to watch so many documentaries as a child on how the Palace of Versailles was built because I think it's just insanity how big that place is. Yeah. So this type of game seems to be right up my alley. I probably will play more of it. In fact, I may do more on this channel eventually, but that will have to be in the future at some point. I will thank you now for watching this game episode, whatever you want to call it, and I'll see you guys in my next one.